Earlier today, I had the pleasure of speaking with Enes Freedom, an 11-year NBA veteran who is a native of Turkey and now a U.S. citizen who has been targeted by his native government for speaking out against their alleged human rights atrocities and violations. And dozens of members of Congress recently sent a letter to President Biden expressing their concern over a $500,000 bounty that's on Enes' head and asked for the president to place sanctions on the Turkish government. I was talking to Freedom earlier and asked him if the president does not take action, what his response will be. Listen.
First of all, it's a bipartisan issue, and that was one of the reasons that I wanted to meet with both sides and, talk about human rights, talk about political prisoners, talk about my situation, my family's situation. And, the response that I got from the members of the Congress and also a Senate, it gave me so much hope. We sit down, I actually had an amazing speech, and we had an amazing conversation at the RSC, Republican Study Committee, and shout out to Kevin Hearn and Brian Woban. They were amazing friends. But, they were just pretty much asking, like, this is unacceptable. You cannot put a bounty on an American citizen's head in U.S. soil. And what I was talking about in that lunch, I was like, I'm not the only one on that list. There are actually so many innocent people who are on that list and lives in the U.S. and their life is in danger too now, just because we talk about the human rights violations and political prisoners. So, it's not a lie that Biden administration has been soft on dictators like Erdogan, just because of Turkey's a NATO ally, and which does not act like a NATO ally. But I want him. He's my president. I'm a U.S. citizen. He's my president, and it is unacceptable for a foreign government to put a bounty on my head. So I hope, more than condemning, I hope that President Biden will actually take some actions and says enough is enough. So last year I was actually eating lunch with one of the senators. He was a Democrat, and I pretty much asked him, I was like, Senator, do you think President Biden knows my story? He said, absolutely. I was like, since the day he took to office, I've been trying to meet with him and his administration, and I've been getting declined. Why? He said, well, him meeting with you is pretty much, screw you to Erdogan. And Turkey's a NATO ally. And unfortunately, he's not going to meet with you. And that shocked me so much. I asked the senator, I was like, so you're telling me, Senator, the most powerful man in the world and the most powerful house in the world is scared to meet with a 29-year-old NBA player? He said, I cannot say that he's scared, but basically is. And that really broke my heart.
The Turkish government is trying to silence you by this bounty. What will make you stop talking?
Well, people always say it's my family. It's not only about my family. If you look at Turkey right now, Turkey is the #1 country in the world that put the most journalists in jail. Right now, there are 17,000 innocent women, and almost, I believe, 1,000 babies and kids are in the jail, grew up with their mother. So what will make me stop talking, release all the political prisoners, and actually care about human rights and freedom in the country? Because Turkey could be the bridge of Islam and West, but right now all these problems are happening. It's not possible. So I want them to release all the political prisoners, especially the women, because there are so many reports out there like Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, Human Rights Foundation, Freedom House. A lot of the reports are saying that these women are getting tortured and raped, and my dad was in jail, so I know how tough the Turkish jails can get. So I just want him to release all the political prisoners and actually care about human rights and go for democracy in Turkey.
You say that after the bounty came out, that nobody from the NBA, no former coaches or former players, reached out to you. Why do you think that is?
I played 11 years in the NBA. I had hundreds of teammates, 5 different teams. Not just teammates, but coaches, some of the people who worked at foreign offices. Not one of them reached out. I think, it's not only about this. It's been almost a year now. I have not heard from anyone from the NBA, which I think that they are scared of whenever I give an interview. And when the China thing happened, happened, when the Nike thing happened, when I criticized those things, I mean, they were really supportive, quietly. And so they are really worried about if I'm going to do an interview one day, that I'm going to bring up their name, and that is going to literally destroy their brand, or it's going to destroy their shoe sales, jersey sales, which I would never do without their permission. But it breaks my heart, because they were more than my teammates, they were my brothers, and that's what I thought.
When you spoke out about the human rights abuses from Turkey when you were playing in the NBA, you say that the NBA was actually supportive of your comments. But then when you started talking about China, something changed. What was that?
There are billions of dollars of business between NBA and China, and I remember, like you said, before China, last 10 years, NBA has been very supportive. My teammates, coaches, the commissioner of NBA, Adam Silver, that gave me actually so much hope to go out there and fight. Adam said, you're doing the right thing, keep doing what you're doing, because I knew that NBA has almost no business in Turkey, so that was not going to cost them any kind of money. But once I started to talk about the problems were happening in China, that's where everything just changed. Before I got blackballed, I was having a conversation with my teammates in a locker room. They were telling me, listen, man, I think what you're doing is so inspirational. You are literally the first athlete that have ever done this before, but this is your last year. Have fun, smile. I hope we win a championship, but you're not going to get another contract after this. And I was like, NBA was the first organization, actually, when all the protests were happening in America. They went out there and said, we are more than just a basketball league. We are more than athletes. We have to stand up for social justice. But now, these are happening.
I want to get your thoughts on the NHL and the Flyers player who recently chose not to wear a Pride jersey on Pride Night, and also the Rangers who chose not to wear Pride jerseys. The Flyer player said it was because of his religious beliefs. What would you say to people who are speaking out or choosing not to participate?
In America, that's the beautiful side of America. That's the freedom of religion and freedom of speech. So if they don't want to put something that they're not comfortable with on their jersey, they don't have to. This is America, but I was following it very closely, for sure.
Do you want to play basketball again? What's next for you?
Good question. Well, I'm 30, and I could play another 5-6 years in this league. But after talking to many of the experts, I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm just I don't hate the game. I love the game. I feel like I can use this game to bring people together. Now I go around the world, countries or cities like, Vatican or Jerusalem or some of the other beautiful cities and countries out there, and I organize basketball camp for kids. We bring Muslims, Christians, Catholics, and Christians kids together to play basketball. And when you put them in the same team, they learn from each other. They learn how to communicate. They learn how to work, how to win, how to lose. So I think basketball is a beautiful way beautiful tool to reach out to these kids, and so that's what I'm trying to do with my foundation now.
Such a powerful interview. We thank Enes for his time.